Hello, welcome to the Jim Clyber Show. Today is September 1st, Tuesday, 2020. We have reached September. It feels like we're still stuck in March, at least for me. I don't know. Let's see. In the US, we pretty much shut down on this quarantine, I'd say around March 19th or so, at least here in Michigan. So it's April, May, June, July, August, and now we are going into the 6th month of this quarantine lockdown pseudo lockdown pandemic waiting period, just hoping that people are going to do something to organize this. I sit here with a lot of frustration. It seems like this is really just a logistical problem, a problem of tracking where the virus is. Now, there's privacy implications and such, but there are so many people in this country who are so good at logistics, especially in the government. Arguably, the US military is so fantastic in terms of the actual word of fantastic, or awesome in terms of the same thing, um, because of its ability to handle logistics anywhere around the world. Also, its ability to do maintenance and maintain the system. So yeah. Anyways, we're entering into the 6th month now, and fall is beginning. Fall is coming. One thing I can be grateful for is being here in Michigan for almost 6 months straight in the exact same house, sleeping in the same bed. I have seen the seasons change. In the spring, we had a family of robins move in just behind the garage. And so we had, I think it was 3 or 4 baby robins that were sitting there on the top of the downspout, and you could see you could see their little heads popping out from one of the windows. And then over time they grew up and eventually flopped out of the nest, and then we could see them hanging around the bird bath and trying to fly. One of them got stuck on the porch and didn't really know what it was doing. And then by the time the robins left, these things called cicada wasps moved in. So cicada wasps are about, let's say, like this long, which is about maybe 2 inches long, and it's a wasp. It's huge. 2 inches is what, like 4.5, maybe 5 centimeters. And things are terrifying, or at least they terrified me. If you notice, a lot of times I'll say something is blank with an adjective, and then I'll try, if I can, to remember to turn it into not an adjective, but something in how it affects me. So, side note, if something is terrifying, a lot of times that means it is terrifying me. It is making me feel terrified, and I project that feeling onto the rest of humanity. Oh, because it makes me feel terrified, therefore it will make everyone feel terrified. Not true at all. So, on that side tangent, when you hear people use an adjective to describe something, more often than not, it's probably describing how they're feeling about the thing and assuming that everyone feels about it that same way, or indirectly telling you how they're feeling without opening up, because it can be a bit more raw and vulnerable for me. See, even right there, it can be a bit more raw and vulnerable. I feel sometimes more raw and vulnerable if I'll share how I'm feeling exactly like that. See, if I say it can be a bit more raw and vulnerable for people, it distances myself from that expression. But if I say I feel raw and vulnerable when I use the emotions that I'm feeling rather than the adjective that's describing how everyone should be or might be feeling. I totally lost my point, but but I think sometimes these language things can be so deeply embedded that we're not aware of what's happening. So on that side note, I'll say, oh, okay, the cicada wasps. Oh, I found them terrifying. They terrified me. even though I learned that the males don't have any stingers, and the females have stingers, but they don't really hurt that much. So it's not a very strong sting. And more often than not, they're not aggressive. They pretty much exist to eat cicadas, or I'm not sure if you're familiar with what those are. Sometimes they can go, I think, 7 years or so without showing up, or maybe 17. There's some type of dormant period for some of them, but others show up, I think, more frequently. And they basically sound like a zzz in the tree. They're hanging out in the trees. And so these cicada wasps will eat them. But the problem is they burrow into the grass and they make these mounds. They make these little holes and throw out the dirt or sand. And at one point we had like 8 of them. And so I'd go out and try to shoot hoops in the basketball hoop in the front yard, and these things would buzz and swarm, and I knew that they weren't going to hurt me, but still having a 2-inch wasp dive bomb my ear made me very scared. Although it shouldn't have, That's the thing. Sometimes our heart overtakes our mind. Anyway, so yeah, I've been able to see the transition of nature that I normally wouldn't see. And now that cicada wasps are gone, the grass is a bit dead out there. Oh, we had moles that were tearing up the yard. And my parents installed a camera in the backyard to watch some of the animals because we have a garden as well. And we basically have had a family of deer pretty much move in. And now, when I'm telling you all these things, I want to remind you, we're not that far outside the city of Detroit. We're a suburb of Detroit. And we're not used to having that many animals around. The occasional skunk or possum or things like that. But we have groundhogs, we have deer, we have these wasps. Of course, we have the robins and things like this. But the camera's been catching the deer just kind of sleeping in the backyard, in the middle of the open. Like, the 2 baby deer will just kind of nuzzle down in the grass and just sleep there for a couple hours. It's I don't know. It's the first time in a long time that I've been rooted in a place without traveling somewhere else or moving somewhere else, and rooted so firmly in one location that I can really see the ebb and flow of nature. Ironically, I didn't expect that this year. I definitely didn't expect it in the suburbs. But yeah, so I want to talk about one other thing that's on my mind. And it may frustrate some people, and it may inspire some people, and who knows, it may confuse some people. I imagine it's probably going to frustrate some people, though. But there's a quote that people harp on for Donald Trump very often, and it was after Charlottesville happened. So for those who don't know, it was a couple of years ago in Charlottesville, Virginia. There was a march where many white people, I don't know if they would self-identify as neo-Nazi or white supremacist, but many other people identified them as such. They were marching with tiki torches, and I believe even one person got killed. I think it was from somebody in a car drove up and killed one of maybe the counter protesters or somebody else. I don't remember the specific details, unfortunately. And after this event, many people were angry and frustrated with what happened, and looked to the president for leadership on resolving this. And many of the people who looked to the president were hoping that the president would condemn these people, or at the bare minimum, condemn the actions. And he responded with, there are many very fine people. And this inflamed a portion of the U.S. population, maybe broke their hearts, shattered their hope and maybe confused them overall, why would the president say that these are very fine people? And I say this because I am not against the president calling them very fine people. I believe all people are fine. I do not understand, and it frustrates me to no end, why he would not condemn their actions. And this is a conversation I get into over and over again, where many people will tell me that people are their actions. We are our actions. What we do is who we are. And I disagree. I disagree strongly, because if I lock myself, if my identity is directly tied to what I do, if my self-worth is directly tied to what I do, then if I do something that hurts other people, it's almost like I'm permanently locked into that. There's no opportunity for me to change, no opportunity for me to grow, no opportunity for change, to improve my behaviors, no opportunity for me to learn. It's just I'm stuck in whatever I did. And I just don't think this is a very healthy perspective. There, look at me doing it again. Healthy perspective. I don't feel good when I see others like this and see myself like this. I feel frustrated. I feel hopeless when I see somebody commit an atrocity, and I believe that that person therefore is atrocious. I feel hopeless in many ways. But when I let myself look at that person as a human being who did something, and as a human being who could do something differently in the future, who could change what they believe, how they act, or what they dream of doing, I feel hope. So I think too often somebody is either good or somebody is evil. And if somebody does something that's good, they're a good person. If somebody does something that's evil, they're an evil person. And if somebody has done something evil once, if they've done many, many, many good things, but they do one evil thing, then we throw them into the evil bucket. That they're always going to be evil. I knew that they were evil, and I can never trust them again. And I don't want to look at the world that way. It makes me feel miserable to look at the world that way. So I can't put words into Donald Trump's mouth, but how I would have said it, I would have said what these people have done have caused a lot of pain, a lot of anger, and a lot of fear across this country in the hearts of many. And I don't stand for that at all. At the same time, why are they doing this? And try to dig deeper into these people's humanities to figure out why. Why do they get to this point that they would do something like this? How can we help them so that they don't do this again? And help them on a deeper level. So in that way, I would see them as very fine people who did something that hurt very many people on a deep level. And the reason I take this approach and this perspective, which many people don't like, from what I've heard, they they disagree with me on this, or at least I think. Why I take this approach is because if I take that approach for people who are marching in Charlottesville, I also take this approach for people who are locked in prison for selling marijuana 20 years ago, or people who have committed a murder because they found out that their wife was cheating on them, and in the fit of rage of losing their job and their wife cheating on them, etc., they exploded and did something that they've never done before. They're typically a person who holds in their anger, and it just bottled up, and it got to be too much, and it was the worst day of their life, and boom. because I don't want that person to do it again. I want that person to learn. I want that person to change. I want that person to realize that I still care about them. And I think all too often what happens is that we will come up and say that, like Trump will say, that there are very fine people in Charlottesville. Again, okay, fine people who've done something that really hurt a lot of people. That's what I would say. But not coming in and saying that there are very fine people at the protests. Why not? There are very fine people everywhere. There are actions that we don't like. There are beliefs that we don't like. There are words that we don't like. There are things that we don't like. But there are people that I love. And I care about the people who are protesting. I care about the people who are in prison. I care about the people who are in the hospital. I care about the people who are in law enforcement. I care about the people who are in the military. I care about the people who work in the factories. I care about the people who don't have jobs. I care about the people who are rich. I care about the people who are poor. Doesn't mean I like everything they do. Sure don't like everything they do. Causes a lot of pain to me. It causes a lot of pain to the people I care about. And if I care about all these people, then in a way, I'm almost perpetually in pain. I see people that I care about hurting other people I care about. And the people on the receiving end hurt. But the people on the giving end hurt too. One of the most profound things I heard on Twitter a couple years ago was, hurt people hurt people. I love it. So simple. And so what I want in a leader is I want a leader that's going to stand up for the humanity on both sides. Humanity on all sides. We get into these jostling matches where one group will encourage members of that group to condemn someone else or some other group. Oh, these people are bad people. I think they're bad people, therefore you need to think they're bad people. No. But I'm also not going to think you're a bad person. But this, I don't know. Sometimes I think so many of us view relationships and love and care as a zero-sum game, where if I care about one other person who's on the quote-unquote other side, then therefore I don't care about you at all. I think this is a farce. I don't think this exists. Now, when it comes down to specific resources like spending our time with someone or giving our money to someone or doing things like this, yes, there are limited resources in the world in many ways, and we have to make decisions how to share those. But just because I share certain resources with one person doesn't mean that I care about that person more, that I have more love for that person than for another. And it frustrates me to no end. I don't know why it frustrates me. Maybe I should have more peace with it. It's just, I think it frustrates me because I can see so many of my friends hurting each other. My friends all across the spectrum. Someone jumping in and immediately defending Donald Trump's intentions, but because they heard one quote of Joe Biden coming in and saying something to like an auto worker saying, I don't work for you in a factory. Because they heard that one quote, this man clearly doesn't care about us and I don't care about him. What? Really? One quote? You've defended all these quotes for Donald Trump and you don't defend the integrity of this guy for one quote? So I think that's where we get into trouble. It's like, it's kind of an either or. Okay, maybe that's the problem. It's either or. One option is that we defend one person, we condemn another person. And so therefore, if you're going to condemn Biden, I also want you to condemn Trump. But really, I don't want Biden to be condemned. If you defend Trump, that's fine. But I also want you to defend Biden. And this happens in families and in relationships all over the place. Because one of us is hurting, we want the other person to hurt as well. Oh, you don't trust me? Then why are you trusting him? That doesn't make any sense. Instead of, if you're trusting him, why don't you also trust me? I find myself stuck sometimes. And I've met so many people from so many places. I interact with people from many different economic classes, many different countries, many different parts of the US, many different occupations, many different interests on a daily basis. People who speak different languages, people who are from different generations. And I see so much anger and frustration and pain in these people because another group doesn't like them or pushes them away. And then it hurts me, I guess, the most because a lot of my friends will assume that I'm not on their side. It's the conversation of, if I, how do I put it? If I even come in and say that I care about the people who are marching in Charlottesville, or an even much lesser degree, even if I just question whether what Trump said about them being fine people, which I have in this episode, my friends who are African American may think, oh, he doesn't care about me at all. At all. What? Why? Why just because why does that mean I don't care about you at all? But at the same time, if I stand up and say about Black Lives Matter and what happened to George Floyd, or any of the deaths that have happened, like wrongly, any of the deaths that have happened at the hands of the police officers when people have been unarmed, when Black people have been unarmed. My friends who are many of my friends who are white in the more rural areas will think that I don't care about police officers at all. What? Why does that mean? Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. And it puts me in a hard place. I think a lot of times I just don't say anything. I got ripped apart multiple times on Facebook by just a handful of friends, right? So, there's always typically a few people that'll comment on things. But I think I was posting about Roseanne Barr or something that was happening with a white woman that was, it was Roseanne Barr made some comment, I think, about Black people. And I think I said that I didn't agree that her show should be canceled. People lit into me. About how I don't care about Black people. And it's just... And in a way, I mean, how do we prove to other people that we care about them? How do we make other people see that we care about them? This could be one of the hardest challenges. And one of the things I strive for, but constantly bash my head up against. It reminds me of being at this program called Save a Warrior. And the program exists. It was a 5.5 day, I think it's a 4-day workshop now, to help military veterans reintegrate into society. It's called Save a Warrior because many of the people who join are ones who are on the brink of suicide, on the brink of homicide, on the brink of overdose. And it's, for some of them, this is their last chance, their last hope. And the program blew me away. I was fortunate to join as a witness. I met the guy who started the program, Jake Clark, and we had a connection, and he thought that I'm gracious, I'm very grateful that he invited me to participate. And one of the things that really struck me being at that workshop was a man who said, I know the people around me love me, but I don't feel loved. How do we make the people around us feel loved? It's hard, man. It's really hard. How to convince people that we love them if they believe that we don't, if they believe that we're out to get them, if they believe that we're against them, if they believe that we're trying to betray them, if they believe that we're lying to them, if they believe that we don't even know they exist. How do we convince these people? Can we convince people? I try to remind myself that it's really hard to convince these people that we care about them. We can say it as much as we want. We can do all these things. But ultimately, if they don't believe it, they don't believe it. And it's really hard to accept that for me. To accept that no matter how hard I try, no matter what I say, no matter what I do, no matter how I exist in this world, other people may think that I don't care about them, that I hate them, that I ignore them, that I'm indifferent, that I'm apathetic, that I don't even know they exist. But does that mean we shouldn't try? I think for me, it's not about trying to convince someone so much. It's just about loving them. It's working on myself to care about these people, and more than anything, to get at what we talked about before. It's for me to feel loved, for me to believe that other people care about me. If I think people don't care about me, then I am probably going to reciprocate and not care about them. But if I believe that people care about me, why wouldn't I treat them well? For me, it just makes sense. If somebody cares about me, of course I'm going to treat them well. I mean, I'm just going to reciprocate and give them. But if I think that they don't care about me, that they hate me, why would I treat them well? It's very hard. So a lot of the work that I do is practicing to remember and fully integrate and believe that people care about me, that they want me to be well, that they want me to succeed, that they want me to be safe, that they want me to be happy, that they want me to be healthy, that they know I exist and they want to know more about me, that they believe in my humanity, that they see my humanity. And yeah, I think it's up to us to change our beliefs if we want to change whether we think people are against us, people abandon us or are away from us, or people are with us. Sometimes the default reaction that I have is to assume not so much that people are against me, but that people don't even know I exist. And I'm sure for others, the default reaction may be that people are against me. But I think that indifference one really hurts sometimes. To think, I mean, I'm sure they both do, but for me, to think that people don't even know I exist, or wouldn't care if I were there, or don't even notice if I'm gone. It's just a story I make up. It's just a story. I make up this story and I tell myself, subconsciously over and over again in my head. Oh, people don't even notice that you haven't been on the internet that much. Oh, people, I'm sure they haven't cared that you've disappeared from conversations, or they don't even know what's going on with emotional self-defense or whatever the heck you're calling it now. People, whatever, like, it's not a big deal. You haven't really impacted people that much. It's just kind of whatever it is, it is. And then I'll get a message on Facebook or something. Hey man, where have you been? I haven't seen you in a long time. Like, what's going on? Or my neighbor, oh, so good to see you. Oh yeah. Like, what? Really? Huh? You're excited to see me? It doesn't make sense in the story I'm telling myself. The story I'm telling myself is you don't care about me. And gosh, these stories that we tell ourselves can be so powerful. And maybe I've said this before, but just how can we change these stories? And if we change these stories, how can that change our life? Even now, you can see me smiling and laughing. My demeanor has changed throughout this conversation. It's 33 minutes in, and I'm feeling quite shocked that I spoke for 33 minutes straight and didn't even realize it until 29-minute mark. I looked up and went, wow, today's a lot better. Yesterday, I was checking it every 10 minutes. It felt like I was really slowing down and really struggling. But today, I'm feeling a lot more comfortable and a lot more resonant with the message I'm saying. And just to wrap up, I think as much as I wish the leaders would speak and communicate in different ways, I have a choice to choose whether I think they believe about me or not. And a belief about me. Oh, maybe I'm not so resonant. I just stumbled on that one. I have a choice to believe whether they care about me or not, and whether they care about the people that I care about. And it can be really hard against some of the evidence, but how do I choose to believe that they care about me and that they see me? And how do I choose to care about them, regardless of what they've done, regardless of what I've done? How do I choose to care about myself, regardless of what I've done? That may be the hardest one. To know the things that I've done in the past that have hurt people, the things that I'm doing currently that are hurting people, and the things that I'll do in the future to hurt people, unintentionally, but still, nonetheless. And how do I remember to care about myself? And remember that I'm just trying to do what I'm doing in the world to survive. I don't really know what I'm doing here, and I don't know if any of us does. We do stuff and we see what happens, and we do more stuff and we see what happens, and then hopefully it points in a direction and we go from there. I'm gonna start sharing these a little more because I'm starting to get my legs a little bit. I'm a little afraid to have the live audience, but I've learned that from writing that book that I did earlier this year, that when I have a live audience and I don't actually have people on it, it's not as enjoyable. It's just me talking to a screen, and I want to stretch myself a little bit and see what it's like to actually have people on the live audience. So if you're tuning into this one, good luck on the next one, because we have no idea how that's going to go. But if I pause and try to change that story in my head, people want to watch these, or somebody does. And even if they don't want to watch, they still care about me. They want to know I'm well. They want to know I'm doing good. So on that note, I am going to go get some food and take a break from this computer screen. Bye, everyone.